Man, I gotta really start missing out on more Canucks games, it appears. Because every time I go out and I leave the house and I don't watch the game and I go do something else like I did today. Today I went volleyballing again because it was a very nice, sunny early spring day at the Olympic Oval, and we had ourselves a good time on the... I was about to say the beach, but it's not a beach. It's a makeshift kind of pseudo-quasi-beach sort of thing with sand. We played volleyball. It was pretty cool. And that went on until about 8:30-ish today. So by the time I went back home and I suited up, just rested, took off my sandy socks and shoes and everything, I sat down and I was like, okay, the Canucks are losing this game. It's 2-0. Are we going to make a video about this? I don't really know. It's fan appreciation night. They're wearing the black skate. There's a lot to be excited for. But when I was watching, I was like, okay, it's 0 goals. Like, there's not really too much to be excited for in terms of the gameplay. And then they came back. And we have ourselves a few updates to go on the main stories of the team that I wanted to highlight first and foremost before we go over everything that I had seen, which was pretty much the goals and just the control and all that stuff that the Canucks had. We had ourselves JT Miller getting himself his 67th assist on the year. It was on the power play. Miller goes over to Petey, who sets up Boeser on the high slot, who rips it and in. This was the first Canucks goal 6 minutes into the third, which gives JT Miller his 98th point on the year. 98 gosh darn freaking points for JT Miller. He has one more game tomorrow against Connor McJesus, Leon Draisaitl, and the rest of the Oilers to get 2 points to break 100, become the first Vancouver Canucks 100-point guy since 2010-2011 when Daniel Sedin had 100, and then you have, of course, Henrik, who had 112 or something the year before that. Miller is right there. And there are a few other players in the NHL who have reached the mark or who are closer to the mark. Steven Stamkos reached it a few days ago. We have Mitch Marner for the Maple Leafs, who is also close, but it's unfortunate, but the Leafs are going to sit him out in the last game, so he's not going to have the opportunity to get 100 points on the year. But still, with everybody else in the National Hockey League at the mark, of course, you have McDavid, you have Huberdeau, you have Draisaitl, Tkachuk, Gaudreau. Like, I'm just kind of saying it off the top of my head. I don't have the list in front of me right here. We've got a lot of 100-point scores, a lot of 90-point scores, a lot of 80-point scores. Miller is so close. 2 more points away from getting 100 on the season. I was kind of hoping for Miller in overtime to get the 99th point of his season. Knock on wood, he goes out there and gets it tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers. But for JT Miller in overtime, my gosh, because we're talking about Miller, I guess I have to go out there and say it. He did the move again. He did the moves where he tried to deke by a guy by quickly cutting over onto the backhand of the offensive zone, and it didn't work. It's only worked like once this entire season. And like... the amount of times it doesn't work versus the amount of times it does work is not worth it, in my opinion, because every time it doesn't work, it always leads to a turnover. He's never able to recover. He's never able to get back on the right side of the puck. He always loses it, and it becomes a rush for the other team. This time, he's lucky it didn't go into an odd man rush, eventually into a goal, but the LA Kings had their chances in OT. Some very quick shots stopped up by Spencer Martin. You had a post in there, I think, as well, but JT Miller and his fancy dangles in overtime, while they're appreciated the once-in-a-blue-moon time they go in, every other time it just leads to stress. So, Miller, please stop doing that. I mean, he's probably got 1 game left in a Vancouver Canucks sweater anyway, so let's be real. Is he really going to have the opportunity to do that more? But either way, he's got his 98th point on the season with this Brock Boeser goal, and all is good in Canuck land. You also had yourselves, 8 minutes after the Boeser goal, Alex Chiasson getting things done on the scoreboard as well. It's Quinn Hughes who keeps the puck in on the left point. He spins to get around his men, and as fluidly and as agility-filled as we have come to expect him to be, he walks the line like an absolute maniac, cuts right into the middle, takes a shot, Chiasson with the tip, and eventually it goes in after bouncing off of Cal Petersen. It is a tie game 2-2 after, of course, you had second period goals from Vilardi and Adrian Kempe. I guess I had to mention that because, what's a hockey game without the opposition scoring goals, right? But it was 2-0, and I didn't see this part of the game, so I'll use that excuse to go over why we didn't talk about it. And then, of course, in overtime, you had the beautiful setup from Elias Pettersson over to Brock Boeser after Boeser walks right in, toe drags it, shoots it, it gets knocked down. Pettersson goes back to Boeser. Boeser's second shot goes off a Spence. He gets the rebound a third time and he shoots it in over Cal Petersen. 3-2 is your final here for Vancouver on Fan Appreciation Night, wearing the black skate against the LA Kings. And Brock Boeser has his 22nd and 23rd goals on the year. We were talking at length about this in previous, what was it, like trade rumor videos, talking about who the heck was it, Dan Rosen? Or something like that. But it has been a growing sentiment that I've been seeing amongst NHL writers, media, and fans that Brock Boeser is one of these guys that pretty much has the most, absolute most, to gain when it comes to these last few games in the regular season, because you take a look at the very slow start that he had. Under Travis Green, he wasn't really scoring all too much. He wasn't doing what it was that Brock Boeser is the best at doing. What is the best Brock Boeser skill that he has? It's his wrist shot. It's his goal-scoring ability. He beat Carey Price, all these other goaltenders in his rookie season, like butter with that smooth wrist shot that he would always get off under pressure. And that skill wasn't something that we saw a lot of in the earlier parts of the year. Under Travis Green, it wasn't great. Under Bruce Boudreau, there was a good ignition of what was expected out of Brock. More offense, more goals, etc. But you could debate that a lot of the goals that he was scoring were not really Brock Boeser kind of goals. A lot of them were dirty rebounds in front. They were backdoor tap-ins. They were right place, right time sort of open shots with open nets. They weren't necessarily the same game-breaking snipes like we saw him getting in his rookie year. Sure, he had the Sedins setting him up, but it wasn't really like the Sedins were setting him up consistently. There was a Thomas Vanek period where he was playing mostly with him on the same line. So Brock Boeser getting a few goals here and there at the end of the season is pretty much the best thing he could ask for, because it makes other teams more desired when they want to trade for this guy. It makes him more of a valuable asset if you were to dangle a Brock Boeser on the trade market, because he is an RFA. There are expiring rights there, but you can't always just qualify those rights if you wanted. So for Brock Boeser, this is good for him because it might entice other teams, or the Vancouver Canucks, should they be the team, to give him a little bit more money. Is his qualifying offer of $7.5 million good enough? I still think it's way too high, but it remains to be seen. We'll see where the Boeser contract negotiations go, whether or not they are with Vancouver or with some other team. But either way, seeing him get up to 23 goals in the year, pretty great, especially seeing Elias Pettersson get assists on those points as well. Pettersson has now finally broken the 66-point marker on the year, which is kind of odd when you think about how he's done that a whole bunch over the past few seasons. You go over to Pettersson's rookie year, he had 66 points in 71 games. In his second season, he had 66 points in 68 games. In his third season, 21 points, 21 games. It's okay. He was out for the majority of the year anyway. But this season, 66 points in 78 games. Make that now 68 points in 79 games. So he's 1 point away from 69, which is a pretty good number, and it's pretted nice as well. So I'm going to be pretty interested in seeing if he is able to hit that mark on the year. But Spencer Martin going out here and doing what he was doing, I know he let in 2 goals in this game, but I didn't see it. I was at the Oval playing volleyball, setting up my friends with beautiful sets, allowing them to spike it because I'm only 5'3", so I'm not really able to spike it myself. But Spencer Martin makes 33 saves in 35 shots against. He's got a .943 save percentage, and he shut the door in overtime, so good on him. It's still very unfortunate that he's got this really nice chrome blue mask that he made, or not he made, but like he got made, like a few days ago, and now the 2 times he's actually playing, it's in the black skates. So it's kind of funny though, isn't it? How the black skate seems to be a good luck charm for the Canucks right now because they've won so many games while playing it. It wasn't always like that, you know? A lot of these older retro Canucks jerseys were kind of seen with scrutiny because of the records they would bring. For example, the Vancouver Millionaires Heritage Classic jersey. That one was seen in a very bad light for a lot of fans for a long time. But this black skate one, pretty good so far, and Spencer Martin getting 2 straight wins because of it, or not because of it, but while wearing it, certainly makes things a lot more fun, now doesn't it? So talk to me in the comments about your thoughts about the Vancouver Canucks, the stories we talked about here. JT Miller getting 98 points on the year. He is 2 away from 100. Does he get to tomorrow against the Oilers? Or does he stop up with a sub 100 point year, which still would be one of the best Canucks seasons ever when it comes to point production, but I kind of want a little bit more now, don't you? Let me know in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this. And bye.